Let's talk now about how to pick out the very first guitar you're going to play with. Now, I get this question every single week on social media. I used to get this lesson in person. And they're always asking, Matt, what is the best guitar for a beginner? So many parents ask me that. It's like anything. If somebody even says, how much does a guitar cost? I always say, well, how much does a car cost? You can buy a car for $5,000. You can buy a car for $1 million. Guitars are the same way. So let's talk about this first. For example, you first want to know your budget. And I always say, make sure you play your guitar before you purchase it. I'm not a big fan of just buying a guitar online. I think you need to play it. I think you need to feel it. I think you need to hold it. You need to see how heavy it is. You need to see the thickness, because how far it's going to be away from your body. I used to start on an Ovation guitar because it had a rounded back. And that rounded back was so important for me because I could see over the guitar onto the strings. There's different size guitars. For example, I have what's called a GS Mini. This guitar is a little bit smaller. It's great for beginners, a little bit easier to learn on. This is a full-size guitar, another Taylor. These are both pretty expensive. This one's $500. This one's like $3,000. This is very expensive, my most expensive guitar. But one thing I want to say is make sure you don't get too cheap of a guitar. This is so important because I used to teach students in person, and so many times they would find this cheap little guitar, and even though I've been playing years and years, it would sound so bad when you tried to play. So even though I know you're trying to dab in the guitar and you don't want to spend a lot of money before you go play, if you get too cheap of a guitar, it's going to sound so bad and be so hard to play because the strings are going to be really far away from the neck of the guitar. It's going to be hard for you to press the strings. Your fingers are going to hurt. It's going to sound bad. It's going to be hard to hit one string at a time. A lot of times it's going to sound all muffled, that kind of thing. So the type of guitar you purchase is so important. So parents, maybe if you're watching this, even know, I know you're wanting to not spend a lot of money to see if your kid's really going to be about this. But always know that the nicer the guitar, you're usually going to be able to spend about $300 or more to get a pretty good guitar. It's going to sound good. So if you buy a $50 guitar, be careful. It's probably going to not stay tuned very well. It's not going to sound that good. It'll be a little harder to play. But the main thing, I want to make sure you find one that fits good, because like I said, as a beginner, you're going to need to see over the guitar, up and down the neck. You're going to want it close to your body, so you don't want it too far away. You want to be able to see over. So don't get it too thick. Maybe a smaller body guitar, maybe this one's a little bit shorter in length. So maybe that's something to consider. There's places like Sam Ash, Guitar Center, all kinds of places where you can go and actually play the guitar before you purchase it. I highly recommend you do that. Even if you're going to buy it online, at least go somewhere and play that guitar and then purchase it online. Maybe if you can find a better deal, that kind of thing. Because a lot of times I think people just see something online, they purchase it, and it doesn't really fit their style or their body when they're first trying to learn. So be very aware that even maybe after you get halfway through this, or you've been playing for 2 months, 6 months, a year, quickly, if you got a cheap guitar, you want to upgrade because it's going to sound so much better.